Wow. Hey guys, welcome to NCBA Money Mastery, a show where we teach you how to make your money work for you. My name is Leo, and as always, I'm excited about numbers because at NCBA, the numbers that matter to you matter to us. Now, here are some numbers around NCBA leasing. 1, there are currently over 2,000 different types of assets under lease. The value of these assets is more than 3 billion shillings. And the third number that should matter to you around this is you're able to make upwards of 30% of your cash flow savings when you lease as opposed to buying assets. Now, a lease is a huge business enabler for businesses worried about the initial capital outlay for asset acquisition for their businesses. And unlike most multinationals, local corporates are yet to embrace leasing as a mode of asset acquisition. This morning, we want to help you gain mastery in leasing and basically show you how to practical ways in which you can use leasing to help your business get to the next level. To help me do this, I'm joined by Robert Marete. Now, Robert is the GM, NCBA Leasing. Karibu, Robert, to NCBA Money Mastery.
Thank you, Leo, for having me, and greetings to our listeners.
Yes.
I take this opportunity to again appreciate our listeners and viewers this morning. On behalf of NCBA, please feel welcome.
Thank you, Robert, and thanks for that welcome. Now, Robert, I know leasing has been one of those complex subjects around banking. So my request to you this morning is just try to break it down into small morsels for us, so that you can just understand what leasing is and how basically our customers, both corporates and SMEs, can leverage against leasing to grow their businesses and take it to the next level. So starting from the bottom, as so to say, what is leasing?
Leo, there are so many definitions of leasing in many various forms, but for this particular, in the context of this discussion, I'll dwell on operating leases. And this is an arrangement where the owner of an asset extends the use of these assets to another party. It might be an individual or a business in exchange of periodic rentals. The owner of the asset is called the lessor, is referred to as lessor in this transaction, while the party that is using the asset is referred to as the lessee. In the case of operating lease that we are discussing today, it's not a full payout lease. Remember, the number that matters to you is how much you pay in period. So when we talk about not fully payout, if say a vehicle is worth 10 million and you're leasing the vehicle, you end up paying the full amount of payment that you're supposed to make at the end of the lease term is excluding the profits, obviously, of the leasing company. Is not supposed to be the 10 million.
That's pretty clear, and I think as we go through this discussion, then it will get even more clearer. So, Robert, there are quite a number of misconceptions around leasing. What are the most common that you've had, and are you able to dispel them?
Yeah, I will start with the most popular. Local businesses think that leasing belongs to multinationals and big corporates. The obvious reason why this comes up is because you'll find multinationals, they copy the best of practices from the countries they operate. In Europe, Asia, and other markets, you realize leasing penetration is over 35%, while in Kenya, we are barely at 5%. So this makes the concept not quite known around. whereas it's a very good proposition for SMEs and local corporates that they can adopt, especially at this time of constrained cash flows and unpredictable business environment, because you realize leasing actually unlocks the cash that you need for your business. The simplicity of leasing is that you realize there is no capital outlay that is required ordinarily, and for this purpose, there is no collateral required, which is a big constraint to many SMEs. So the second one that we get is leasing is complex, and the question we ask here is compared to what? Yes, obviously, outright purchase is straightforward. You have one-party transaction to deal with a transaction, but for a business, if you're purchasing equipment worth say 10, 20, 30, 100 million, is it a wise idea to acquire them in cash? Obviously, a finance person will tell you no. So the next alternative is to take a loan. And a loan actually has a lot of covenants compared to leasing. At NCBA, we demystify leasing. We keep it simple. We got two key documents. One is the master lease agreement that stipulates the relationship between ourselves as NCBA Leasing and you as the customer. And then for any particular equipment that you're acquiring from any supplier, then we have subsequent lease schedules, which is our one-pager that describes the asset name or other asset identity, the period of the lease, the amount that you're supposed to pay, the period at which you're supposed to pay, and that is signed between ourselves and accepted by you. So then the lease is concluded there. So that part. The other part is the other misconception that we hear in the industry, in the market, is that leasing is expensive. And the main reason for this is our associates with the lessors who have been players in the industry. And at NCBA, we try to demystify and to basically unpack the lease package. You realize lease includes services like maintenance, insurance, warranties, and all associated asset acquisition associated costs. So for this, if you look at the value of that you pay out to acquire the asset and the associated cost in comparison with the leasing, you realize leasing is actually cheaper. Why is it cheaper? It's because actually the leasing, NCBA Leasing will have an upfront in form of a residual value investment in this asset. So you find your payments will not be full to the value of the asset. So including even the profits for the leasing business. So that is one of the areas that I can tell our listeners that leasing is not expensive. If you would like to test that, just come with an asset and we'll be able to unpack it and show you how much it will cost you.
And thanks for that, Robert, because what I'm getting here is if I'm, let's say, an entrepreneur involved in agribusiness, let's say I have a greenhouse where I'm growing horticulture, capsicum, tomatoes, or whatnot, and I need a truck for my business. You know, as opposed to where I would have to maybe look for the 5 million and go to a dealership and buy that truck, let's spend around 5 million. Leasing gives me an option to come to the bank and to NCBA Leasing, and basically I'm able to get that asset and start using it. Only that now, instead of paying the full cost of that truck right now, you're able to, under the lease agreement, you're able to structure monthly repayments so that, yes, I'm using the truck to transport my produce to market. But instead of paying 5 million, which probably I may not have, or it will constrain my resources, I can be able to use that truck, but then pay, what you're calling periodic rental, kind of payments to the bank. That's it, isn't it?
Yes, Leo, that is a very good, actually said it very well.
Yeah.
Over and above that, it's also to note that for the asset that you still have in your possession, to buy them as a leasing entity and lease them back to you. So you still enjoy the same benefits, whereas you had already made the first step of acquiring the assets. This we call it sale and lease back. Especially you look at the businesses at this stage of COVID, when you had already acquired assets before COVID, and you like to release them to fund your business, then we are there to take up that initiative.
So anyway, Robert, now, let's say I've listened to this discussion this morning and I'm a customer and I'm willing to go ahead with leasing. Are you able to walk us through how the process starts from end to end, how it starts, how it progresses, and how and throughout? Just walk us through the entire leg.
Leo, it will start by you having a discussion with our leasing consultant who will listen to your need. We got at the back, we've got asset managers who are experts in equipment, who are able to basically understand your requirement, your required equipment, the usefulness in terms of lifespan, in terms of maintenance, warranties, suppliers, what other options are in the market. And based on this, we'll have a conversation with you that we'll agree on and set on a particular supplier for your equipment. Then we will get the price, obviously. That's a pro forma. And based on this, we will generate expected rentals, expected maintenance cost, expected insurance cost, and any other associated cost in deploying this equipment to your business. Once that is agreeable between ourselves and yourself, then we'll go to the next step. You like the equipment, but can you afford it? So for this, we'll obviously ask you for your registration details. That is the document that we'll ask you for your financials. By financial, I mean the audited documents, the bank statements. So we are able to, and your cash flow projections. So we are able to look through them. And our experts in credit will be able to tell you whether there is a affordability, whether you're able to pay for this equipment. Not forgetting, we'll obviously also factor in the cash flows expected from the deployment of your business. So based on this, once we agree is good, green light, you have to go ahead. Now we'll go to the next stage, which is now the handshake. And this handshake comes in form of a master lease agreement. And this agreement is a document that is signed between ourselves and your business that stipulates the relationship. How will we relate with you throughout the term of the lease? Now, this document is usually one that is signed between ourselves and you, and will not need to be signed for any subsequent leases. But for the particular equipment you're picking this time, we'll have a one-page document that is a rental schedule that talks about the description of the equipment, the pricing, rather the rentals that you're supposed to pay us, the start date, the end date, and for clarity, which date the payments are supposed to be made. So when it is signed, then as the leasing business, we will supply, pay the equipment, and deliver you.
Okay. Yes.
So then we'll continue the use.
Thanks. Yes. Okay, Robert. Sorry. Had you finished the process? I think I interrupted you there.
Yes, Leo. And I was actually on the tail end there. So immediately we deploy the equipment in your premises. We will now do the monitor. A team that will walk the journey with you. You don't just dump the equipment. Unlike where you finance the equipment, you find the supply in cash. The supplier will drop the equipment in your premises, and that will be the. So in our case, we follow through.
Yeah.
We make sure we walk the journey with you. The equipment is performing. The warranty issues, the insurance issues to be attended to. We are time to give it.
Okay.
Yes, Leo.
Great. Thank you, Robert, for that. I mean, so what I'm getting here is that the bank, I'm able to just walk into the bank and tell the bank what I want, and the bank is able to even help me identify a supplier that you're familiar with, or I can also identify the supplier for myself. And then you're able to go through the entire KYC process. You look through the financials, the cash flow. And what I like about this process is that then what especially SMEs are really worried about and medium-sized corporates is the issue of collateral. So I'm glad that you're not mentioning collateral anywhere in this conversation. You're just looking at the cash flows, projections, you're looking at the financials and the KYC. And based on that, you're able to basically draw up the master lease agreement together with the rental schedule, which you highlighted as the only two documents you require in this process. And from then you're able to determine what the customer will be paying as rent, either monthly or quarterly, and follow up with up to when the equipment is delivered and find out whether there are any service issues. again, which makes it a spot on, a better option, as compared to outright purchase, where probably, as you rightly said, the equipment is delivered at your office, and you're left to figure out how it works. So thanks for that, Robert. I think that's been quite concise and clear. Now, Robert, looking at the Kenyan landscape, what industries do you play in as NCBA Leasing, and what other industry do you find opportunities for leasing?
Thank you, Leo. A good question. Currently, I just mentioned a few. We're quite diverse in terms of sectors we are dealing with. I'll start with healthcare, which is at the top of the mind of everybody today. So you find that healthcare, we partner with the equipment suppliers. We've done quite a number of equipment in hospitals, quite a number of MRI machines, CT scanners, analyzers. We're talking about chemistry analyzers, these diagnostic analyzers. We're talking about dialysis machine. We're talking about oxygen plants. So for this equipment, you find the deployment costs are quite huge, and hospitals need them. And what we usually do is that we are able to deliver them, and based on the cash flows that these hospitals get from the patient paying, then they are able to pay for our rentals. Then we have education. Education, we've seen things have moved to digital. The more reason why today we are having this discussion online. You find schools with and universities doing their classes online. So we partnered with quite a number of universities and colleges in supplying them with the assets like laptops, that they're able to do their online classes with the lecturers together. So we are also able to lease school buses. We've partnered with the private school association, and we're expanding that space. So we just like you notice now, for social distancing, school buses that were needed a 2 years back, the landscape has changed. You need like 2 or 3 for everyone that you had. So how did these schools deploy this cash in buses when they need it also to space the classrooms? So we come in to offer this service with no upfront payment. So we go to the sector of agriculture. We've partnered with many agricultural farms in terms of mechanization. We're supplying tractors, cane loaders, and similar equipment. So, infrastructure, we have supplied quite a number of heavy equipment that are used in the road construction and housing constructions. So all this is supplied, basically is delivered with no down payment, and with a period ranging from, I can say, 2 years to 5 years, based on the equipment nature.
Of our corporates and SMEs can really benefit from whatever sector they are, they play in. As long as they have a requirement for that asset, then they can come and walk into NCBA and ask to see Mr. Marete, and basically you're able to structure something for them. And I'm saying that because like right now there's a lot of infrastructure and construction projects that are happening right now around road construction, road maintenance. We have the big Nairobi Expressway, where a lot of our customers and SMEs and corporates out there have been awarded tenders, and they require a lot of machines and the rollers, the graders, and the forklifts. And you're right when you said that the initial capital outlay for this is quite high. So I'm glad then that NCBA has is offering another alternative where these entrepreneurs can just come in without paying for the equipment upfront, but they're basically getting the use of that equipment. Also, I like that idea about schools, if especially right now the need for technological equipment because of social distancing and online learning, and also what you said about tracks and whatnot. I'm glad then that as an entrepreneur, I don't have to go purchase all these laptops. I don't have to go purchase outright all these tracks or school buses. I can just come to NCBA and just get use of the track, get utility on the track, but I'll only be servicing the lease via monthly rentals. So thanks for that, Robert. And I like how this discussion is going so far. Now, I know NCBA Leasing, it boasts of 60 years of operation. But are you able to walk us through the real practical benefits that, as a customer, I get from NCBA Leasing as opposed to any other financier out there offering the same product?
Thank you, Leo, for giving me this opportunity to brag a bit. And I'll start by mentioning that, yes, the numbers that matter to you matter to us. So, as NCBA Leasing, one of the biggest advantages you have is that you are dealing with somebody who is deep-pocketed. So by this I mean we got a big capital base, a large capital base. So we are not, we do not refer our customers to any third-party funders. When we mentioned about the fear of leasing being complexity, it becomes complicated when a customer walks into a leasing entity and then he's taken to a financial whose term may not agree, and he has to sign documents with the leasing company, documents with the funder, documents with the bank, documents with the vehicle or other equipment suppliers. So for us, as NCBA Leasing is a one-stop shop. You come in, we give you all the solutions that you need. Second part associated to this scale is that we have a very good relationship with equipment suppliers and motor vehicle dealers. So we got 60 years in asset finance within the group. And based on this, the suppliers actually give us very, I would say very good rates, and also they give us very good support. We partnered with them, whether leasing, whether finance, whether asset finance, and other solutions that they require for the operation. So based on this, you find they're able to give us a very good concession that we pass on to you as our clients. So that makes your costs lower and makes your operations also efficient. The other part I would mention is that NCBA Leasing, we are unlikely to require you to do a down payment for this process. All we require is to establish whether you are able to pay the rentals, and then we are on. The part that we also pride ourselves as people who have invested heavily in the line of asset management. We know most of the players in the field have they are basically middlemen who have not invested heavily in this line of asset management. So we are experts who will walk with you the journey in terms of giving you unbiased opinion in terms of the maintenance requirement, the warranty requirement, the right one of the equipment, so that you're able, as a customer, to make a very informed decisions. Remember, this is our asset, or rather we are investing our money ourselves. So we would like to make sure that the journey is without any gaps, because these gaps also cause customers to have challenges in making the rental payments. So I think those are the ones that I can talk about, although there are many more benefits. When you get in touch, we'll be able to show you the cash flow, financial benefits, tax benefits that will pass to you, and we'll be able to elaborate all of them.
I think you've done NCBA Leasing a lot of service, talking about, or rather shouting about your the advantages of or rather the things, the feathers on your cap. I like that you spoke about already existing partnerships that you have with equipment suppliers, and you have experience with them, so that then things around warranty, things around maintenance of equipment is already sort of taken care of. We've also obviously mentioned that NCBA is a Tier 1 bank, so you have a huge asset base. That means you're able to finance larger and larger transactions. Also, you've mentioned something about expertise, 60 years worth of expertise, and a cream team at NCBA Leasing, which again gives a lot of comfort to customers, making sure that the team is structuring this leases in such an easy way for the customer to understand. So thanks for that, Robert. Now, let's say I've listened to this discussion again, and I want to get into a lease agreement. How do I know, Robert, that I'm making the right decision as a customer, as an entrepreneur?
I just mentioned that in terms of expertise, and we got leasing consultant who have a lot of respect with our customers. They are held in high regard, and once you get us, we will have a discussion with one of them who will be able to walk you through the understanding. First is the understandability. Then from that point, we will also now discuss what other options are in the market, and then narrow down to the pricing of this particular asset. And all your requirement in terms of maintenance, in terms of insurance, in terms of warranties that may come with this equipment. Based on this, we come up with the rentals. Now, I agree with you, these are acceptable to your business. And from that stage, now we will request you to supply us with your registration document and other details of your company, plus the financials. By the financials, I refer to the audited financials, I refer to the cash flows, I refer to the cash flow projections, I refer to the bank statements. From these, we will be able to understand whether there is the capacity to pay the rentals as agreed. And once we have that stage agreed upon, then now we'll move to the next stage. And the next stage is engagement. So for this engagement is where now we'll sign a document. That's we refer to it as a master lease agreement. And then we will, once we sign that, now we will go to the specific equipment. We'll give you the schedule that is more or less in the terms of the quotation that we give you, more or less the schedule. And once you accept that schedule, then we'll go ahead and pay the supplier. So the supplier payment will not be obligation. We'll pay for the insurance, we'll pay for all the other costs associated with the deployment of the equipment. So for you as a customer, you'll be sitting at your premises waiting for the deployment of the equipment. And once you deploy the equipment, then you can follow up as per the agreements that we have. Remember, the master lease agreements stipulates the relationship in terms of how many visits we can do, where the equipment will be kept, how will it be serviced, when will the service be carried out, so that we can take care of all the asset requirements. At the end of the lease term, or rather, we work with you engineer at the end of the lease term, then you return the equipment to us, or decide to extend it. At this stage, maybe you're under contracts for 5 years and it's been extended for 1 year. It doesn't make financial sense for you to return the equipment and buy another one for 1 year. So all you will need to do is to extend for another 1 year, possibly at lower rentals. And then we may also give you the option to purchase the equipment as long as their purchase is actually at the fair market value based on the fact that you've been enjoying the tax benefits from the lease rentals.
Two things building up on that, Robert. One, you've talked about, I as a lessee, I can return the equipment and purchase it at market value. So at any point throughout the leasing period. Is that correct?
That's correct, Leo. That's correct. And the termination is actually what we usually do. We have the term of the lease. If it's 5 years, 4 years, predetermined. So at the end of that term is when now we can give you the opportunity to buy. However, should the business circumstances change in between, then this is a conversation we can have at that stage, and we are understanding, and we can be able to structure something that you can work out with.
My question is on something you mentioned about the corporate tax benefits associated with leasing. Are you able to maybe flesh that out for us?
Yes, Leo. In Kenya, the rentals are tax allowable, and you find like other expenses. Once you have income, then you less your expenses, then you pay corporate tax currently at 30% of the what you make after that. So you find that if you've already incurred the rent expenses, then you realize you have savings on income tax of up to 30% of those rentals that you paid to us. So this is a benefit, and you realize ordinarily the rentals will be higher than interest and depreciation that you would have otherwise enjoyed if you had financed the assets.
Wow. Okay, great. Thanks, Robert, and that's been really informative so far. I think it's time now to take a short break. When you come back, we'll talk about disposal of assets under lease and also upgrade of assets under lease. To our viewers, thank you for those of us who are sending comments and questions. Please keep doing that, and also keep tuning in for the second leg of this discussion.
My name is Wilfred Kiumi. I'm the founding director of Africa Digital Media Institute, or ADMI. The good thing about the leasing solution is that it comes, with other added services, which means, the insurance of equipment is taken care of by the leasing, and as well as maintenance. So if any of our equipment, we had an issue with any of our equipment, NCBA Leasing is able to take over the maintenance of that equipment, whether it means taking it, shipping it abroad for repairs, or replacing the equipment, and which they've done, before, and we are very happy about that.
To NCBA Money Mastery from the bank that says go for it. I've been having a discussion with Robert Marete, GM NCBA Leasing, who's been telling us about leasing and basically how businesses can espouse leasing to take their businesses to the next level. Before we took the short break, Robert, you were about to tell us about the disposal or upgrade of assets. Are you able to talk to us about that process?
Thank you, Leo. This is one of the key benefits actually of for leasing, where you find leasing grants you the opportunity to enjoy the best of both worlds when it comes to the end of So at the end of the term, let me just talk about the end of the term before I go to the upgrades, is that the customer can enjoy either returning the equipment or extending the lease at the negotiated rates, or buying the equipment. So you can find you have three options at the inception of the equipment acquisition, unlike when you buy, where you have only one option to have it in your premises, and at the end invest in staff, resources, advertisements cost, involve brokers to be able to dispose this equipment which you do not need. So you'll find at the back end of many companies, you find quite a number of staff packed there that they are looking for disposal. And the disposal process in corporates, at least in Kenya, we need and latest technology. So at the end of the equipment, you don't have to worry about the ones that you have been using. Let me now go back within the period of the lease. So you bought your laptops, you bought your servers a while ago, or rather servers a while ago. If you use these servers, then we got our IT experts who are keeping watching what is happening to this equipment, what is happening to this technology, what new, and immediately we identify what is coming to jump in, get a solution to possibly the new before get you having equipment that are not of any use to you.
take the last question again. Okay. Take the last question you had again, and apologize for that.
He's not happy, but he's ready. 2, 1, go.
Welcome back, guys. Apologies for the small mishap with the internet. Robert, karibu back to the second session of Money Mastery. When you got disrupted, you were talking about the process of disposal and upgrade of an asset, and I remember you mentioned that the customer has flexibility. So there are basically three options right there at the end of your lease. You can either return the equipment or the asset to NCBA, who is the lessor. Secondly, the customer can seek an extension of the tenure of the lease. For example, where the initial tenure was 5 years, and probably the contract has been extended, so they can seek for an extension for the extra 1 year. And the third option that you offered, which was also quite ingenious, is you've offered the client an option to buy the equipment at market value, again, which makes it quite flexible for any customer who wishes to own that asset at the end of the leasing period. I think I've captured that correctly, Robert, and I've not misrepresented what you said. So I know disposal of assets, especially technological types of assets, is a huge pain for customers, and technology is advancing at a very high rate. So you get a lot of equipment and assets becoming obsolete. And I'm glad then that even the bank is also playing there, where you're able to help customers dispose of these assets. So Robert, allow me to now just jump into the questions, and then the questions and comments coming in from our audience, and there are quite many. But selfishly, I would like to ask my question first. Do you have a minimum threshold for the assets that you finance? Like if I want to finance 5 laptops, for example, for my cyber cafe, is that something that I can come to you with under leasing?
I actually didn't like you to ask this particular question, but I welcome it either way. So if you look at it, the leasing offers a solution that is packaged for a bigger transaction, whether you're picking it now or now and progressively to the future, because the nature of a transaction is the nature of the relationship that we have with you as our customer is more of long term. Does it make sense for you to lease, say, 5 laptops, as you said, for a small shop? The answer is depending on what future requirement do you have. If it's actually only the 5 laptops, then it may not really make sense for us to invest in checking upon them, taking care of them. So we'll just do a balance. But should you have 5 laptops, you have 10 vehicles, you have furniture fittings, you have other equipment that you're looking at, then it makes more sense to do the transaction. As much as we do not have the minimum, we got to discuss with you and see whether it's making sense. Because the other solution we can give you on that is asset finance. So you are picking only 1 vehicle for your use that is worth 2 million. It doesn't really make sense to go the leasing way if you do not envisage getting more asset in that particular line. So we would recommend you to do the asset finance, but you will eventually own the asset. There are no involvement of the leasing business in your operations.
I mean, and that sounds fair, and sorry for putting you on the spot, but that's my job. Now, moving on to now questions coming in. There's one from Kabi 254 who's asking a rather technical question here. What is the difference between a dry and a wet lease?
Thank you, Leo. A good question. This is just like I mentioned at the start. There are many forms of leases by definition. And then dry and wet lease is one of the definitions in terms of the composition of the lease. By the composition of the lease, I talked about the complexity. So when people talk about it being complex, so when you do not unpack, and unpacking means the dry lease is equipment only. While we talk about the wet lease, there is some additions. We're talking about we may have maintenance included, we may have insurance included, we may have tracking included, We may have extended warranty included. We may have operators included. So the wetness can be defined as a variable. So while the dry, when you're talking of dry, we're talking about equipment only. However, when you're doing a dry lease, say for a vehicle, let me give an example of a vehicle. If you're taking a dry lease on a vehicle only, you'll be required to pay for the service yourself to the dealer. So you're only required to be able to demonstrate to us that you're servicing the equipment. While if you take a wet lease, we take care of the vehicle acquisition cost, and we take care of maintenance, we take care of insurance, we can even go to an extent of supplying with the drivers and any other service you may require.
Yeah, you have done it quite well. And what I'm getting is, if I'm dealing with non-specialized equipment, dry lease works for me. So if it's like motor vehicle, I can probably be safe with a dry lease. But then when I'm dealing with specialized equipment, like medical equipment or things like that, because of the warranties and the insurances and the maintenance, I'm probably safer with a wet lease. I guess that's, I can put it also like that.
Yeah, Leo, you quite on spot. We recommend. I'll be honest with you. Based on the number of assets that you have, we highly recommend wet leases, because by wet leases, you're able to enjoy the benefit that the leasing company has with the suppliers, the relationship that NCBA Leasing has with the suppliers. You're able to enjoy better rates than you would ordinarily enjoy directly yourself. The cases where we recommend dry leases for, like, say, a medical equipment company dealing with those particular equipment, wanting to lease equipment for their own, possibly demonstrations for their own, for maybe a subsidiary hospital, those ones can take a direct lease, because that one we are not expert in that, and they will have obviously the benefit of servicing it at a lower cost.
Now we have a question from Edwin Rono from Facebook, who's saying, as a contractor, leasing or lease financing looks very good. What is your interest rate? You mentioned that you don't have interest rates, but I just maybe give some direction to Edwin about the repayments.
Edwin, I'll give you an example. When you go to rent a house, let me call it leasing a house or renting a house where you have premises to live, you do not really worry about how the owner of the building takes care of his mortgage, or how he took care of his capital to put up that building. All you look at is the house good for me? Is it 25,000 or 30,000 I'm being asked affordable? And does it make business sense? And once that is good, then you're good to go, you sign up. So for leasing, we really discourage customers from thinking interest way, because interest is just one way of looking at cost of money. However, there are many ways that we look at. There is the return, there is the residual income, there is so many other ways to define the leasing income. So when you look at the rentals, what I would encourage customers to look at and to compare leases is based on the rentals and the value of the equipment. That will give you a balanced assessment. So I would tell Edwin again, for leasing, interest is not really a great component that determines the pricing.
Good. Another question from Imanu Kim, who's saying, must I be a customer to get leasing, or rather to get the leasing with NCBA?
Thank you very much. I think I needed to clarify that. Some of our customers are actually leasing customers, are actually not bank customers, a few of them. And we acknowledge your relationship with your bankers, and possibly with time, once you get our service and start enjoying our service, you may decide to give us the banking service as well. But in this region, we are the first bank to venture into leasing business. I would say we are the one of the strongest bank that has a leasing subsidiary. And for this reason, we find many companies that are banking elsewhere coming to us for leasing solution. But eventually, they find themselves transitioning to banking. Yes, you can be our customer on leasing, even if when you're not a bank customer.
That's clear. And then a question from Francis Othiambo from YouTube, who's asking, do you only lease to already established businesses? And a second question, what is the minimum size of transactions that you handle?
Yes, Francis, I will tell you, we do not necessarily lease to established businesses. However, it's got to make sense. Like I mentioned to you, we've done a lot of startups. We've done a few startups. I will not say a lot of them, but a few startups. But they got to demonstrate the capability to pay. Who are the investors in this business? What other business successes do they have? What are the cash flow projections? Are we taking a chance? So this is based on evaluation. So we need to see, are they willing also to put these big companies that are putting this investment? Are they willing to guarantee this business? What other nature of fallbacks do you have on this particular equipment? So yes, we've been able to do, Francis, we've been able to do a lot of startups, a few startups, and it's worked well. I've actually not seen one that is failing, but the due diligence is obviously key to this. So you also ask the minimum transaction. I would say the minimum transaction is a discussion between our lease consultant and yourself. So we will find whether it makes sense to you and to us in terms of cost and in terms of engagement that is required. But basically, that's a call we make at the point where we have a discussion with you.
Great. I mean, thank you so much, Robert, for that entire engaging discussion. This last half hour has been very informative for me personally, and also for entrepreneurs who've been watching us and following us on YouTube and Facebook and all the other social media handles. So we thank you very much, and we thank you and appreciate you for making time to just come in this morning and teach us and give us this masterclass on leasing. And to our customers, you've heard it from the right person or the main person in NCBA Leasing, that if for your asset acquisition objectives, you don't have to consider outright purchase as the only option. There's a more flexible option in NCBA Leasing, where basically you're able to gain utility from that asset without fully laying down the full cost of the equipment. There are a lot of advantages that have been extolled by Robert on using NCBA, and what I really like about it is the expertise angle and the fact that they're able to hold your hand throughout the entire process of leasing. So if you have your own business, if you have your own school or construction company, or any other industry where you're required to do asset acquisition, please come in into NCBA and talk to Robert and his team, and they'll be able to assist you in doing that. Thank you so much for staying tuned in and sending in those questions and comments. For those that we've not been able to answer because of the duration of the show, please rest assured that we'll be able to reach out to you directly and respond to those questions. So that's all the time we had for you on Money Mastery Conversations from the bank that says go for it. To learn more about leasing or any of other NCBA products, please visit our website at ke.ncbagroup.com. That's ke.ncbagroup.com. Feel also free to visit our social media pages, where you'll get a lot of information on our products, on our promotions, and any other new products that are coming into market. So that's it for me. Until next time, when you look at another set of numbers that matter to you. Until next time, my name is Leo Kinyoi, and continue keeping safe, continue social distancing, and continue masking up. Have a good day.